First of all, welcome. Welcome everybody in the room, and so nice to see real life faces, and but welcome to anybody online as well. So nice to be able to reach out to who knows where. So we'll start with the supplication to the Guru, the root Guru. And we're going to say this in English, well, we'll chant it in English. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure you'll pick it up once we get going. The thing is, it's you've got to sort of go for it a bit, really. It's not easy to do in kind of very faintly. And then the main Vajradhara lineage prayer, which we're going to say the English one. And obviously it's, because this course is about Milarepa, it's extremely apt and relevant. It's always relevant, but it's particularly relevant now because of the nature of the course that we're doing. So and then we'll get into the course itself. So. Great Vajradhara Tilunaro Marpamila Dharma Lord Gampopa, knower of the 3 times, omniscient Karmapa, holders of the 4 elder and 8 younger lineages, Drikantaklung and the Salpa, glorious Drukpa, and so forth, masters of the profound path of Mahamudra, to the Dagpo instruction lineage, the peerless protectors of wanderers. Kagyu Lamas, I supplicate you, I uphold your lineage, grant the blessings of your liberating lives. Just as revulsion is taught to be the legs of meditation, this meditator clings not to food and riches, and has severed the ties to this life. Grant your blessings for detachment from honor and gain. Just as devotion is taught to be the head of meditation, this meditator constantly prays to the Lama, who opens the vault of pith instructions. Grant your blessings for uncontrived devotion to well forth. Just as non-distraction is taught to be the body of meditation, this meditator simply remains without altering the fresh essence of whatever thought arises. Grant your blessings for parting from the concept of meditation. Just as thought is taught to be in essence Dharmakaya, for this meditator unhindered manifestation dawns. Nothing whatsoever dawning as whatever may be. Grant your blessings to realize inseparable samsara nirvana. May I never in future lives part from authentic lamas, and embracing ever the glory of Dharma. May I perfect the qualities of the levels and paths, and thus swiftly attain the state of Vajradhara. Is anybody here familiar with the story, Milarepa's life story at all? Is anybody not at all? Okay, so there's some, it's a mixed group, which is what I kind of suspected it might be. So before we get into the songs, because this is a study group for the songs, study and meditation on the songs of Milarepa, and I did bring you notice to a film that's made about his early life, but some of you may not have seen that. So I'm just going to very briefly a whistle-stop tour through Milarepa's life, because really it's quite good to have some context of why he became as he was and how he became as he was, and the conditions, the causes that led up to the point where we're going to pick up his story, where he becomes a master, a yogi, and relates these amazing songs, which are his form of teaching. It's basically poetry from a realized, liberated mind. But to get to that point, that story, I'm just going to briefly go through a few things, and I've written it down because I don't want to go off on one, otherwise we'll be here for an hour. So I've just made a little list of things that I need to mention, and it's by no means full, and I would recommend that you do read the story, because that is part of the inspiration that, you know, he got up to all sorts of bad stuff, and so it's very inspirational to think if someone can be that bad and still become liberated in one life, then there's chance for anybody if you put the work in. So his family background. So he was. Oh, I can't read and look at these. So his family background. He was born into a Tibetan family of sort of semi-nomadic, you know, country people. His father was a landowner. I wouldn't say they were super wealthy, but they were quite comfortable and owned land. So the family background, his father and his mother, and he had a sister, Peta. But the problem was that his father died while Milarepa was still quite young. And because of that, his aunt and uncle said, well, you know, let us help you, because, you know, Milarepa's far too young to be doing anything with, you know, anything control of the family and the land and everything in the house. So we'll help you out. And that's how it started. So the mother agreed, and the aunt and uncle came to live in the house, and they basically took over bit by bit. They took over, and as they were taking over all the power and the control, they treated Milarepa and his mother and his sister worse and worse as the time went past, and it became that they were more or less enslaved by the uncle and aunt. So they suffered a great deal because, you know, and it was years, because, you know, Milarepa was, I can't remember how old he was when his father died, but he was really a minor. And then even when he came of age, they were virtually captive slaves in their own home and left to sleep in the sort of servants' quarters, you know. So this is an opportunity when Milarepa did come of age, that his mother thought, right now it's time, I should be able to take back the reins, you know, because Milarepa's old enough now to take control and assume being head of the family. So she made a party, and people came, the villagers came, and all of this, and of course the aunt and uncle were there, and they were like really angry, and they, just to put it briefly, they said, you're joking, he's not going to be able to take over, he's doesn't know what he's doing, and no, that's nonsense, and anyway, we're the ones we're the ones that should be here. And because he was now quite powerful, the villagers and the other people kind of sided with them to be on the right side, sort of thing. It's all politics, really, family politics. So his mother was absolutely, well, all of the Milarepa, his mother and his sister were all distraught. His mother in particular was so eaten up with thoughts of revenge and what she could do and how she could empower Milarepa to be able to take over. So she sent him away to study with, how can I put this? A black magician, basically. A master of the dark arts, basically, because she wanted him to be able to take over. So her motivation was good, but the act was not good in any way. And so Milarepa went to study with this master, and he took to it very, very rapidly and became very well versed in the black magic, the sorcery. He became a sorcerer, basically. And so his mother told him that he should, you know, curses on the family, and there was a whole series of things. He started off not too bad. I can't remember exactly what it was, the first beginning one, but it was something fairly minor, but the aunt and uncle didn't take any notice, and they carried on and just cast him out. And then the things got worse and worse and worse, and it ended up with the aunt and uncle were still in the house, had all the money, all the power, and they threw a party. I think maybe somebody was getting married, so there's lots of people there. And at this point, this was quite a few years afterwards, Milarepa, he cast a spell on the house, and then the house collapsed and everybody inside it got killed. So that was, as you can see, a very negative mass murder, basically. We can call it for what it is. So yes, although he had some reasoning behind it, it's still, there's no way you can square that, you know. But of course he became eaten up with remorse, and he knew that this is not the way to be. And so he realized that he'd done a terrible thing, and he wanted to try to redress what he'd done. And so he set out looking for a teacher that would show him the right way to be, not this black magic sorcerer, but someone who was on a good path. And he tried a few people, and they were sort of a bit helpful, but not very. He was so clever, Milarepa, albeit his cleverness had been channeled in the wrong direction. He was so spiritually aware, but he was on the wrong path, basically. So he was too clever for the people that he was going to. And then it came to pass that he heard the name of Marpa, a teacher called Marpa. And as when he heard that name, the hairs on his neck stood up on end, and he just knew that was the person that he had to seek out. And so he went to seek out Marpa, who was just he was working in a field. He owned land, Marpa, even though he was a great teacher and had been to India and he was a translator. He was known as Marpa Lotsawa, Marpa the translator. And so he was a great master, but he was also a farmer, and he looked like an ordinary person. And he knew that Milarepa was coming because of his clairvoyance. And so he was just in the field ploughing or something, and Milarepa asked if he knew where this teacher Marpa was, and he said, oh, he's somewhere up there, and he sent him off. Anyway, later they meet up. Now Marpa, because he's a clairvoyant master, knew what had happened with Milarepa, and that he had acquired all this bad karma, really bad negative karma, from killing and cursing people and doing all of his mother's wishes, but still he did it. And so, but he also knew that Marpa had been predicted to, that Milarepa, had been predicted to be a great lineage holder, a liberated master, if he could go in the right direction. So he admitted Milarepa into his entourage isn't quite the right word, but into his enclave. But he refused to give him any teachings. He just did not want to give him any teachings because he knew that Milarepa needed to purify first. He was full of negative karma. I mean, there's no way that any teachings are going to go. It's like, you know, they say the teachings need to go into a clean, pure vessel, otherwise everything gets polluted. So right at this point, Milarepa was a polluted vessel because of all the negative stuff he'd done. So, but he did admit him into his sort of circle, and then he gave him lots of tasks to do. I mean, really hard tasks. So Milarepa had to kind of put up with the fact of seeing these other disciples being taught. He didn't get a single word of teaching, but not only that, he had to go and do really hard tasks, like Marpa would say, go and build me a house on that hill over there. And you can't have any help, you have to do it all by yourself, and you have to hew the bricks and the stones and build, and I want a square castle over there, a big tower. So it took him many, many months, and his back became completely covered in sores from carrying the stones and building this square tower. And then when he'd finished, he went to Milarepa and said, well, I finished the tower. And he went and he had a look and he said, that's stupid, I didn't tell you there, I told you to build it over there, you're not listening. And so he made it take it all down and build it in another place. And anyway, and then the next time he'd build it, no, I didn't say that shape, I want a triangle one. You're not listening. Or maybe I was drunk, I don't know. But anyway, build a triangle. And this one, 3 times, he made Milarepa put his towers up and then take them down, and then there is one still left. So this was over a period of years, and his, he looked like a rag and bone man. I mean, he was just... But it was to the point where people thought Milarepa was really cruel. His other disciples and even his own wife, Dagmama, she thought, this is too much, and she tried to lessen it, but that interfered with everything, even though she had good intentions, because Milarepa knew what he was doing. And he knew that the only way to get rid of Milarepa's really bad karma from all the bad actions that he'd done was to put him through all this endurance, all this test of his faith, and that was the only way. He didn't do it. He did it because he loved Milarepa. He wanted Milarepa to succeed, and that was the only way. So it was done out of wisdom and kindness. Eventually, Milarepa realized that Milarepa had cleared all his karmic debts, and he gave him the teachings. And when he gave him the teachings, he didn't just give him one teaching or two, he gave him all the teachings that he'd brought back from India and translated. Most of his disciples he'd only given some teachings to, but he knew that Milarepa was capable of holding the whole lot, because he knew how Milarepa was. And so he gave him the teachings, and he taught Milarepa over a period, and gave him the entire body, knowing that Milarepa would become a great yogi and the future holder of the lineage. So after he'd imparted all the teachings, Milarepa sent Milarepa to put them into practice. And he said, right now you need to go to the mountains and meditate. Get some experience. You know everything, but you need to experience it. So go and find a solitary cave and where there's no people, get your few provisions together, go and sit in the cave and meditate. And you can wander around like that. You need to maybe go and get provisions from time to time, but basically you're going into solitary confinement, you could say. And so off Milarepa goes and finds a place, and it's at that point that we're going to start our course. So how this is going to work, how I hope this is going to work, is that I'm going to read from the whole book. No, I'm not really going to read. I'm just going to read a little bit, and up to the point where the song is, the first song that we're going to be studying, and then I'll read through the song, and then that will also be up on the screen. Our kind assistant here, and so you can see it as I'm reading, and then we can maybe go back on a few things and unpack it a little bit, and then carry on like that through the story. Okay. So if you have notebooks or you want to write down your questions, just, that's not a bad idea. Okay, so we're going to start with, this chapter is called Mila Gathers Wood. Namo Guru. Once, while at Chonglung Garuda Fortress, that was the name of the place he was, dwelling in a state of luminous Mahamudra, the powerful Lord of Yogis, Jetsun Milarepa, rose to prepare his provisions and saw that there was no sampa. Sampa is a kind of staple food in Tibet. No sampa, no salt water or seasoning. There was not even a bit of wood in the wood bin. There being no water or fire for the stove, Milarepa thought, it seems my renunciation or abandonment of provisions has become a bit too intense. I better go out and gather some wood. He set out, and when he'd found enough wood to fill up the lower part of his robes, he was holding his robes, putting wood inside, a strong gust of wind suddenly came up. You can probably hear the hubristic the sound of, not when you want a gust of wind, you don't get one. Suddenly came up and blew away the wood. And then when he held the wood, he tried again, he got the wood back again, he held on to the wood, but then his robe blew away. So he was really, sounds like Scottish weather, doesn't it? At this, he thought, even though I've been in retreat for so long, he'd been in retreat for a while already, I've still not abandoned my self-clinging. What's the use in Dharma and practice without giving up self-clinging? He said out loud to the wind, if you want my clothes, take them. If you want my wood, take it. Relinquishing both of them, he sat down. Then, because of his lack of nourishment, he was overtaken by a wind condition. This is an internal energy condition, and he fainted. When he came to, his garment that he'd been wearing was hanging on the top of a tree, waving about in the breeze. A feeling of disillusionment overcame him, and he sat and meditated on the flat surface of a rock that was the size of a sheep. From the direction of Droa Valley in the east, a white cloud began to appear. Milarepa thought, under that cloud is the hermitage of Droa Valley. It is there that my guru, the translator Marpa Lotsawa, lives. Remembering how in the midst of his guru and his wife and their retinue of Vajra brothers and sisters and friends, he had received the explanations of the tantras, the empowerments and the key instructions, he thought, oh, how nice it would be if he's there now to go and meet him. Where before he had felt disillusionment, powerful memories of his guru brought an immeasurable feeling of sadness. Shedding many tears, he sang this melody of sadness and longing. It's called the Song of the 6 Remembrances of the Guru. So he's kind of singing this to Marpa. Remembering you, Father Marpa, dispels my anguish. This beggar's song of longing just suddenly came. In the east, at Chonglung Red Rock, a white rain cloud hovers above. Underneath that floating white cloud lies the great site, the hermitage of Droa Valley. In the back is a mountain, like a great, majestically poised elephant. And the mountain in front is like a great, majestically poised lion. Upon the throne of the great Amolika rock, upon a cushion of a Krishnasara deerskin, who is it that sits in that place? It is Marpa the translator who sits there. If right now I could meet you, how happy I would be. Though my devotion is weak, I wish to meet him. Though my longing is weak, I wish to meet him. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpa Lotsawa. Lady Dagamema, who is dearer than my own mother, if right now I could meet you, how happy I'd be. Though the journey is long, I wish to meet her. Though the path is hard, I wish to meet her. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpa Lotsawa. The profound Tantra of Hevajra, if right now it could be taught, how happy it'd be, how happy I would be. Though my prajna is slight, I wish to hold it. Though my intellect is slight, I wish to recite it. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpalotsawa. The four symbolic abhishekas of the whispered lineage, if I could receive them now, how happy I would be. Though my offerings are small, I wish to receive them. Though I cannot offer an initiation gift, I wish to request them. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpalotsawa. If the profound instruction of the 6 dharmas of Naropa, if right now they could be caught, how happy I would be. Though my fortitude is weak, I wish to receive them. Though my endurance in meditation is feeble, I wish to receive them. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpalotsawa. Dharma friends gathered with faith from U and Sang, if I could see you now, how happy I'd be. Though my experience and realization are slight, I long to discuss. Though my understanding is inferior, I long to discuss. Whenever I think, I remember the noble Guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Marpalotsawa. Though this beggar knows that within devotion we are inseparable, I am unable to bear this torturous longing of remembering my Guru within my chest. My breath is seized in my chest, I cannot speak. Kind one, please take away your son's sorrow. So, you can feel the devotion, can't you? His absolute devotion to Marpa, and how much he was yearning for him. Even he was a great meditator and had lived, on retreat, but still he had such longing for his Guru. So I think what we'll do is just go through it again. And then if there's anything there's a few words that you might not know, or just a few little things. These are what you're going to be working on in private, these things, when you take it home. But there might be some things that just come up now that I can help with. So, remembering you, Father Marpa, dispels my anguish. He says, when he thinks of him, it dispels his anguish. This beggar's song of longing suddenly came. And then he talks about in the direction of where he is, in the red rock in the east, under the white cloud. I think this is all quite understandable, isn't it? He's just describing the place. That in the back is a mountain, and the front is a great rock. Upon the throne of the great Amalika rock, upon a cushion of Krishna Sara deerskin. So this is quite often the teacher would. It goes back to the time of the Buddha and the teachings in the deer park. So it was quite accepted for a teacher to be sitting on a deerskin. It was kind of harks back to those times, and. So that was why he sits on a deerskin, and so how happy he would be if he could meet Marpa. Now here where he says, though my devotion is weak, I wish to meet him. Though my longing is weak, I wish to meet him. You might think, well, that's not very good for supposedly a great practitioner. But what we have to understand here is that he is extremely humble, and not only Milarepa, but all the great masters are humble. That's how you know a great master, not because they say they're great, but quite the opposite. They are very humble, and especially in regard to their teacher, their Guru. So the Guru is the highest one, because it's through the Guru that they've received their help and become who they are. So they owe everything to the Guru. So in comparison to the Guru, they put themselves really down. So don't think, oh, he's got no devotion. Quite the opposite. So his devotion is actually very strong, but he says it's weak. And he means it. It's not that he's just saying it for effect. He means it. That's the way he's thinking. Then it talks about Lady Dagmemba, so that was Marpa's wife. And she'd been very kind to Milarepa because she'd felt a bit sorry for him, you know, and she'd done lots to help him. So she's become like a mother to him, and he really wants to go and meet her as well. And then the next verse, the profound tantra of Hevajra, if right now it could be taught, how happy I'd be. So Hevajra is a tantric, a meditation yidam. I don't know if you're familiar with the word yidam. It means like a meditational sort of deity, but a creation of the mind, really. But anyway, it's a practice. And if it could be taught, how happy he would be. And again, he puts himself down, though my prajna, my wisdom, prajna is wisdom, though my prajna is slight, I'm, not much good. Actually, he had great wisdom. Though my intellect is slight, again, he's constantly putting himself down, but don't take that as being true in a normal, in a usual sense. And each verse is ending with, whenever I think, I remember the noble guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Mapalotsawa. So all the way through, he's showing his devotion, he's stating his devotion. And then the next verse, the 4 symbolic abhishekas of the whispered lineage. So the abhishekas are the empowerments or initiations into the practices. And the whispered lineage is the Kagyu lineage. It's called the whispered lineage because it's kind of whispered, not literally whispered, but it goes from the master to the student, and it passes orally. Basically, it's an oral lineage. Of course, things were also written down, but in terms of the empowerments, everything is done by the spoken word, and you need the master to speak and the student to listen. And both have to be done very well. And then he says, if I could receive them now, how happy I'd be. So if he could receive the empowerments and from his teacher. And now, though my offerings are small, I wish to receive them. That slightly could be construed in 2 ways. So what he means is that not that he wished to receive his offerings, that wouldn't make sense. Grammatically, it's not quite right, but what he means is, I wish to receive the empowerments, even though he's only got small offerings, and he would like to make, opulent offerings, big sort of offerings, but he hasn't got anything. He doesn't even have a robe anymore. It's hanging in a tree, he's got nothing of any value, but how happy he would be to receive them. Though I cannot offer an initiation gift, I wish to request them. So in spite of that, not having anything, he still would like to have them. And the same with the profound instruction of the 6 dharmas of Naropa, which are these very, very profound teachings that were from Naropa, the Indian Mahasiddha. So if he could have those, how great it would be, and how happy he would be. Though my fortitude is weak, I wish to receive them. He's as if he's got no fortitude. Though my endurance in meditation is feeble, he's meditating day and night, not for 10 minutes or half an hour like we feel all proud of ourselves if we meditate for an hour, He used to do things like, he would put a butter lamp on his head, so that if he sort of he got sleepy and got drowsy, the butter lamp would fall all over his head, and he'd get hot butter all over him. So that's the weakness of his endurance and meditation. Different league altogether. Dharma friends, gathered from U and Sang, if I could see you now, how happy I would be. I think that refers to the other disciples. These are U and Sangha regions of Tibet. They're quite far-flung, I think. So how happy he would be to have his Sangha, his Dharma friends, with brothers and sisters with him, or to be with them. Though my experience and realization are slight, I long to discuss. They would discuss the Dharma and debate and have these discussions. And again, he's always being very, very, very modest. Though my understanding is inferior, I long to discuss. But of course, he's got unsurpassed understanding. And then, whenever I think, I remember the noble guru. Whenever I meditate, I remember Mahapalotsawa. Though this beggar, he calls himself a beggar because he begs for his food. I mean, in that definition, the Buddha was also a beggar. That's what the word bhikkhu, which is the Sanskrit for monk, means beggar. So this beggar knows that within devotion we are inseparable, we meaning Marpa and himself. He knows that with devotion they are inseparable, but even knowing that, I am unable to bear this torturous longing. He's longing so much of remembering my guru within my heart. My breath is seized in my chest. I cannot speak. Kind one, please take away your son's sorrow. Oh, it's so heart-wrenching, you know? So I think that's hopefully explained a little bit, but of course, you know, there's so much to go into there. So he's saying, kind one, please take away your son's sorrow. So then, on the point of a cloud, stretched out like a banner of 5-coloured cloth, sat Lord Marpa before him. A vision of Lord Marpa in the sky before him, riding on a white lion, adorned with many ornaments, and appearing even more splendid than when Milarepa had been with him in the past. So he's got this vision of Marpa in front of him, like real, you know? And then Marpa speaks. My son, great sorcerer, why have you called out to me with such anguish? Have you lost your trust in the supreme jewels of the Guru and Yidam? Have you been chasing your thoughts, the objects of adverse conditions? Have the obstacles of 8 worldly concerns corrupted your retreat? Are the demons of hope and fear getting to you? Above, have you offered service to the Guru, the supreme jewel? Below, have you shown generosity to the sentient beings of the 6 realms? In between, have you purified your own obscurations and negativity and given rise to excellent qualities? Have the conducive conditions for these not arisen? Whatever it may be, you and I are inseparable. So through your practice, benefit the teachings and beings. So let's just unpack that a little bit. So not only has Marpa appeared to Milarepa in response to his great yearning, but he's also giving him this teaching, this reminder. My son, he sees him as a son. He feels him as a son. He is his spiritual son. Great sorcerer, he's kind of teasing him a bit there. That's kind of like a name that you would sort of remember. You were the guy that was doing all the black magic. You know? So he calls him the great sorcerer, and a little bit of familial teasing there. My son, great sorcerer, why have you called out to me with such great anguish? Have you lost your trust in the supreme jewels of the Guru and the Yidam? Because if it sounds like you have, otherwise why would you be calling me? Sounds like your trust is a bit wobbly here, you know? He's teaching him. Have you been chasing your thoughts, the objects of adverse conditions? That's another reminder, you know, is kind of, your thoughts getting the better of you here, you know? And you're following your thoughts rather than staying focused on your meditation. There's no end to that. It's these adverse conditions, it's just going to lead you to that. Have the obstacles of the 8 worldly concerns corrupted your retreat? I mean, he'd given away everything. He had nothing. But he did actually think about the wood. He did think about the robe that had blown off and things like that. So, but, you know, this is so tiny. I mean, the 8 worldly concerns really means really worldly way of seeing, you know, prideful ways of seeing, wanting, desire, and all the attachments and the going after luxury and stuff like that. So those are the, and reputation, and all of the things that Milarepa had really given up, apart from a few bits of wood and a little bit of cloth, you know. So, but he's saying, you know, is this getting into your brain? Is this what's happening with you? And then he says, are the demons of hope and fear getting to you? Are you starting to hope for this and fear for that? And now, this is a very important line, and especially I think for us, because usually I think you often hear the word hope as being something very positive to have, you know. Oh, without hope you can't go on, or, you know, you must have hope. You hear this a lot, you know. The problem with hope is that the other side of it is fear, if you think about it. Because hope is a kind of wanting, isn't it? You want something to happen. You're hoping this will happen. The obverse side of that particular penny is that you're fearing that the other thing will happen. You hope that you'll get whatever it is, but you fear that if you won't not get it, or you fear something else will happen instead. So it's a two-sided coin. Anyway, this is something for you to look into, because I know that might come as a bit of a shock to some people. But just try and emphasize, I suggest this is a very important topic for meditation. Of course, that doesn't mean to say you should be like a hopeless person, you know, miserable and hopeless. It's kind of like, for me, and this is just me talking here, but I find that the word aspiration is useful. Because aspiration is a bit more proactive, isn't it? It's like you have to do something. You aspire for something, and then you have to do it to make it happen. Whereas hope, to me, and it might be just semantics, has this sort of feeling of you hope something you're not really going to be doing, you just hope it's going to happen anyway. Maybe it will happen, you really hope it will happen. But if you're not actually doing anything to make it happen, I think that's the difference between hope and aspiration. But that's just not written anywhere. Maybe it is written somewhere, but it's just something I think myself. So I don't want to confuse the issue. But this is the type of thing that you can look into for yourself, and that was what came up for me when I read that. And not just that, I've thought of it many times. Anyway, are the demons of hope and fear getting to you? Above, have you offered service to the Guru, the supreme jewel? Have you been keeping the Guru in your, you know, it doesn't mean to say you've actually physically got to go, but in your mind, are you offering to the Guru, but through whom you receive everything? It's not that Marpa is bigging himself up and saying, give me some offering. You know, if it was a different Guru, it would be the same, but whoever the Guru is, whoever your Guru is, it's that offering out of devotion that opens you to receive. And without that, there's no transmission. It can't be passed, no matter how much the Guru might want to, because you're not open. So, have you offered service to the Supreme Guru, and what is the service, you know? Below, have you shown generosity to the sentient beings of the 6 realms? All the different beings. Have you shown generosity? By this, it doesn't mean giving them money or something, you know, it means been kind to them, or been generous with your time, or whatever you have to give. Of course, the supreme gift is the gift of Dharma. So, have you been generous in whatever ways you can be to the beings within your sphere of influence? And in between, so have you purified your own obscurations and negativity? Even though he had purified his karma, they may still have been little imprints that could do with, completely purifying, maybe, I don't know. But this is what he's asking. Have you purified your own obscurations and negativity and given rise to excellent qualities? So not just purified the bad ones, but given rise to the good ones, the excellent ones, the paramitas, the perfections. Have the conducive conditions for these not arisen? Something not happening here. And then, so he's asked this series of questions, and then at the end he says, whatever it may be, you and I are inseparable. So, through your practice, benefit the teachings and beings. So, when we look at that on the page, it's quite a short-looking response, but it's so full of wisdom and instruction, and telling it like it is to Milarepa. So, you can imagine what effect that might have had on Milarepa. Actually, you don't have to imagine it, because we can read about it. Basically, having seen this vision, unbearable joy arose in Milarepa's chest, and he sang this song of joy and devotion. Seeing my father Guru and hearing his speech, this beggar's depression dawned as a wondrous experience. Remembering my Guru's life example, from deep down devotion and realization arose. I truly received his compassion and blessings, and non-dharmic appearances, all of them, ceased. My longing song of remembering the Guru pained the ears of the Jetsun, and yet this beggar couldn't help it. I would do it again. Please continue to hold me with your compassion. The practice of persistence and endurance in hardship, this is the service to please my father Guru. Wandering alone in mountain retreats, this is the service to please the Dakinis. The genuine Dharma, free of self-regard, this is the service to the Buddha's teaching. Making life and practice entirely equal, this is how I am generous to protect the less beings. With endurance, I'm joyful, and when sick, I'm happy to die. This is the broom that sweeps away karma, obscurations, and non-virtue. The austerity of giving up food obtained through harm, this is the conducive condition for experience and realization. Father Guru, I repay your kindness through practice. Protect your son with compassion. Lord Guru, grant your blessing that this beggar may keep to mountain retreats. Thus he sang. So let's have a look at that. I mean, you can see he's basically answering all Marpa's questions, isn't he? I mean, he becomes completely transformed, having seen Marpa and heard him and been reminded and remembering everything that he said, and he knows it deep down, but he had forgotten to some degree. He had to be reminded, and he becomes completely transformed. We see how this vision of Marpa and receiving his blessings and his reminders totally transforms Milarepa's depression. He's not depressed anymore. He says, seeing my father, Guru, hearing his speech, this beggar's depression dawned as a wondrous experience. It became completely the opposite. It was a wondrous experience. Remembering my Guru's life example, from deep down, devotion and realization arose. And by this, when we say life example, you know, when we talk about life example, we're not just talking about someone's historical life of what they did and where they went and, you know, how many children they had and this kind of life story. We're talking about his life of liberation. And this is when we talk about the lives of liberation of the masters. These are greatly inspiring. This is to inspire us, to inspire our practice. So that's what we're talking about, what they did to become liberated. Not the more mundane side of their life so much. It's as if, you know, all this depression became joyful gratitude, and such faith and devotion arose in him that his mind was kind of reset. You know, it sort of wandered off a little bit, and it just kind of recalibrated it a bit. You know, reset it, reminded him how it should be. And he also remembers how to practice. Of course, he was practicing, but he had that extra kick up the pants from Marpa, you know. Well, you know, they were like that. They were very earthy people. A kick up the pants was what it was, you know. He didn't muck about. He didn't sort of wrap it in ribbons, you know. My son the sorcerer, you know. So, and it works, of course it works. It resets his mind. He remembers how to practice, how to serve, and how to be, you know. So he says here, my longing song of remembering, I truly remember compassion and blessings, and then the non-dharmic appearances, all of them cease. So all is wondering about, oh, what if this, and maybe I should do that, and, you know, and oh, I should go and get some wood, and you know, all that kind of little bit of things, the sort of fragments of worldliness, the tiny little fragments, they became, he saw that his mind was playing tricks on him, basically. And he was following it up to a degree. And so he truly received Marpa's compassion, his blessings, and with that, all the non-dharmic appearances, all those thoughts that had been niggling at him, ceased, all of them. And his longing song of remembering the Guru, even though it pained the ears of the Jetsun is like the Lord Marpa, and yet I couldn't help it. I'd do it again. If I'm honest, I would do it again. If I had to, I would do it again. Please continue to hold me with your compassion. I mean, it's very kind of heartfelt and warm. There's such warmth between them, you know, like a father and son, but a spiritual father and son. Someone who's perfect. And the closeness of them, I think you get a lot of that close feeling between them. You know, I'm sorry I did it, but I couldn't help it. You know? And then this practice of persistence and endurance in hardship, this is the service. If he was talking about service, service to the Guru, I don't need your gold, I don't need your this and that. You need to give service. And what is the service? It's the meditation. He wants him to become an enlightened being. He doesn't need, you know, offerings and initiation gifts and all of this stuff. The practice of persistence and endurance in hardship. This is the service to please my Guru. That's what is needed. He sees that now. It doesn't matter about not having some gold or bits or whatever. Wandering alone in mountain retreats. This is the service to please the Dakinis. So Dakinis are they're a class of beings, Khandros. Of course, there's different levels of Khandros, and the Khandros or Dakinis that he's talking about are the guardians of the teachings, the protectors of the teachings. They're kind of, spiritually they embody the Mahamudra. They embody enlightenment, and they help humans and beings who are on the path, or they can hinder them. Sometimes they're very mischievous. Depends. Got to get the right dakini. So, anyway, but in this sense, he means the service to please the dakinis, the ones who are trying to help him become who he should become, fulfill his potential. And then the genuine Dharma, free of self-regard. This is the service to the Buddha's teaching. The genuine Dharma, with no kind of self, I can do this, and that kind of attachment to it. Actually, there's no self in it at all. That's the service to the Buddha's teaching. Making life and practice entirely equal. This is how I'm generous. This is how I can be generous. I've got nothing material to give to people who come to see me. I can't give them much. I can't even give them that much time, really. But I can help them. I can make my life. In other words, I can apply what I've learned. That's what it means. Is making life and practice entirely equal. It's not just that's the practice and this is the life. This is my practice I'm sitting on, I'm brilliant, I'm sitting and meditating really well, and then somebody comes and needs my help, you can go away. That's not putting into practice. The whole point is to use it, not to big yourself up and be satisfied that you can now be a supersonic meditator. The point is to use it in your life. So that's what he means by, I think anyway, that you need to also go into this. Sometimes for me, I don't want to say too much. When I do say anything like that, you have to understand it's my view, not as we're going through it. So that's how he has to apply it. So not just talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. With endurance, I'm joyful. And when I get sick, it's okay. I'm happy to die because I've done all my work. It's like at the end of a day when you've done all your work, then you can rest. So when you've completed your life's work, you can rest, you can die. I think that's what he means. So this is the broom that sweeps away. When you have that kind of mindset, when you're so advanced as that, this is the broom that sweeps away karma, obscurations, and non-virtue. You don't have any more karma because you're not doing anything that's out of step with how things truly are. So you're not accumulating any more negative karma. And therefore there's no more obscurations and no more unvirtuous things because you've gone beyond that. Then the austerity of giving up food obtained through harm. This is the conducive condition for experience and realization. All of these things are answering Milarepa's, Marpa's questions, isn't it? Marpa mentioned about, how did he put it? Have the conducive conditions for these not arisen? In other words, are there some unconducive conditions? And here he's saying, Milarepa's saying, the austerity of giving up food obtained through harm, this is a conducive condition for experience and realization. Only eat what's not causing harm to beings. And then, Father Guru, I repay your kindness through practice. Protect your son with compassion, Lord Guru. Grant your blessing that this beggar may keep to mountain retreats. So he's repaying his kindness through his practice. He doesn't need to give him gifts. It's his practice that his guru wants to see, and that's what he needs. Protect your son with compassion, O Guru. Grant your blessing that this beggar may keep to mountain retreats. So he's he remembered how to practice, how to be, in order for experience and realization to dawn, and he resolves to apply it with diligence and determination strengthened. So, with a happy mind, he can now go back to his practice, and so he goes back to his cave. Start practicing, putting it all into practice. So, let's see what happens. So this is what he sang, and with a lucid and happy mind, he took his robe, he managed to get his robe back, and brought a handful of wood back to his retreat place. And when he arrived at his cave, there were 5 iron atasaras sitting with eyes agape the size of saucers. Atasaras are some kind of demon spirits, local demons, not happy ones. Just when everything was going so well. One of them was sitting on his bed, teaching the Dharma. One of these demons was sitting on Milarepa's bed, teaching the Dharma, and 2 more of them were listening to him. One was preparing food, and one was engrossed in reading Milarepa's texts. The cheek! At first, a flash of shock came over Milarepa. Then he thought, these must be apparitions of displeased local spirits. Usually, whenever I've stayed somewhere, I've never not offered a torma, an offering, you know, a food offering. And I've never not offered praises of the place. I should offer a praise to this place. Maybe I didn't praise it enough, or maybe I didn't praise it. And so he sang this song of realization in praise of that site. Now, we don't have that on the screen because we're not going to be studying this. It's a fairly straightforward one, but I will read it because it's good to read, but we don't particularly need to study it as such. So it's a praise to the place, and so that you can placate the local spirits. Emma, in this solitary place in remote mountains, a place where victorious ones found enlightenment, there are traces of siddhas. These are like previous yogis and masters who stayed here before, sacred place. Here, where this human stays all alone, he's talking about himself. At Chonglung Red Rock, Garuda Fortress, above southern clouds whirl and swirl. Below, the river curves and twines, between the vultures float and drift. Myriads of plants are scattered about. The trees all dance, relaxed and loose, bees buzzing with a gentle hum. Sweet-scented flowers, delight. Melodious birds chirp and sweet. Here at Chonglung Red Rock Fortress, birds and chicks train the skill of their wings. Monkeys and langurs train their skill. Deer and antelope train the skill of their feet. I, Milarepa, train in the skill of experience. I train in the skill of the 2 bodhicittas. That's bodhicitta of aspiration and ultimate bodhicitta. I'm harmonious with the deities in this retreat. Gather here, all you spirits. Drink this nectar of love and compassion, and then be off to your own lands. After he sang this song, the Atasaras, with hostile countenance towards Milarepa, looked at each other with angry glances. Then 2 more came, and joined in to bring their number up now to 7. Some of them stood in front of him, biting their lips with wrathful expressions. Some of them bared their fangs wrathfully. Several laughed and yelled with booming voices. Together, all of them swiped and stabbed in the air, attempting to intimidate Milarepa. Then he thought, these spirits are making obstacles for me. So with a wrathful gaze, he recited powerful mantras, but they didn't go anywhere. Then, giving rise to compassion, he thought, well, I'll teach them the Dharma, maybe that will work. But they didn't give it any heed. Milarepa thought, Marpa of Lodrak has pointed out to me that all phenomena are one's own mind, and that mind itself is luminosity, emptiness. I have completely resolved that this is indeed so. Therefore, to take these demons and obstacles as external and delight over making them leave is useless. Then, manifesting fearless confidence, he sang this song of realization, having confidence in the view. Father, victorious over the armies of the 4 Maras, I bow at the feet of Marpa the translator. People call me a human, but I am the son of a great snow lioness. In my mother's womb, I perfected 3 powers. When I was a baby, I slept in my den. When I was a youth, I guarded its gates. As a full-grown lion, I wander in snowy heights. I have no fear of stormy blizzards. I'm not afraid of steep, rocky cliffs. People call me human, but I am the son of a Garuda, king of birds. While inside the egg, I developed my wings. When I was a baby, I slept in the nest. When I was a youth, I guarded its gates. A full-grown Garuda, I fly in the sky. I have no fear of sky's expanse. I'm not afraid of narrow ravines. People call me human, but I am the son of a colossal whale. In my mother's womb, my golden spots grew. When I was a baby, I slept in the nest. When I was a youth, I led the school. A full-grown great fish, I roam the vast sea. I have no fear of the sea's mighty waves. I'm not afraid of hooks or nets. People call me human, but I am the son of the Kagyu gurus. In my mother's womb, I gave rise to faith. When I was a baby, I entered the gateway of Dharma. When I was a youth, I put effort into study. An adult, I wander in mountain retreats. Though ghosts may be savage, I'm not afraid. Though demons may play many tricks, I'm not afraid. When the lioness stands in the snow, her paws do not freeze. If the lioness's paws froze in the snow, her perfected 3 powers would be of little use. The flying Garuda cannot fall from the sky. If the great Garuda could not fall from the sky, its broad wingspan would be of little use. When the whale swims in water, it cannot drown. If the great whale succumbed to the water and drowned, being born in the water would be of little use. Iron boulders cannot be destroyed by stones. If iron boulders could be destroyed by stones, for smelting and refining they would be of little use. I, Milarepa, have no fear of ghosts. If Milarepa had fear of ghosts, realizing the abiding nature would be of little use. You band of ghosts and demons and obstructing spirits here, How sublime it is that you've come at this time. Don't hurry. Relax, stay for a while. Let's chat about everything under the sun. You're hurried? Oh, you can stay just one night. We'll vie in a contest of all our three gates, and we'll see the difference between virtue and non-virtue. I won't let you leave until you've made some obstacles. If you should go back without making obstacles, how ashamed and embarrassed you to have come here you'll be. And so what happened? After he sang this, Milarepa got up with confidence in his practice and charged in among the demons. The Atasaras glanced blinking back and forth in fear. The force of their quivering bodies made everything inside the cave shake. Then all of the Atasaras swiftly dissolved into the single remaining one, and with one strong gust of wind, he too vanished. Milarepa thought. We'll leave what Milarepa thought. Let's go first of all back to the actual song. So what's happening here? It's called the Song of Having Confidence in the View. So he's addressing Marpa, victorious over the armies of the four Maras. The four Maras are kind of like the different kinds of temptations, and obstructions. He bows at the feet of Marpa the translator. So all of these verses where people call him human, but he's the son of a great snow lioness, and he says what that was like in all the different stages, from being in the womb to being a baby, to being a youth, to being full grown and then wandering in snowy heights and having no fear of stormy blizzards, not afraid of anything like that, or the steep rocky cliffs. Same with the Garuda. People say he's human, but he's the son of a Garuda. So what do you think he's saying here? Then the same with the colossal whale. When he's grown up, he's not afraid of anything that might take him. He's been in the mind of these animals. He knows what it's like. Maybe we've all had many, many lifetimes, so maybe he's talking about that, the different lifetimes that he's had, that we all have had, and what it's like to be that kind of life form. And then when he is human, when he's talking about people calling human, but I am the son of the Kagyu gurus. So now he's talking about a human life. He's talked about what it's like to be a snow lioness, or a king of birds, or a whale. Now he's Milarepa, he's a son of the Kagyu gurus. In my mother's womb, I gave rise to faith. When I was a baby, I entered the gateway of Dharma. When I was a youth, I put effort into study. As an adult, I wander in mountain retreats. Though ghosts may be savage, I'm not afraid. Though demons play many tricks, I'm not afraid. And then if we go to the second part of the song, he explains how and why that is the case. So when the lioness stands in snow, her paws do not freeze. If the lioness's paws froze in the snow, her perfected three powers would be useless. Same with the Garuda. If he'd gone through all these developments and become this great bird, if he could fall from the sky, what's the point of having a broad wingspan? There's no use. Not putting it into practice. That's what it's boiling down to, isn't it? And when the whale swims in water, it cannot drown. If a great whale could succumb to water and drown, what would be the point of being born in water, of being a great whale? And so on and so forth. So, and then when he comes to, I, Milarepa, have no fear of ghosts. If Milarepa had fear of ghosts, realizing the abiding nature would be of no use. What would be the point of my practice? If I reach this stage of realization, and then some obstructing spirits come and disturb me, and that becomes a big problem, that means I'm not putting it into practice. So because what he'd done before, he'd tried things, hadn't he? He tried cajoling them, he tried praising the place and saying how nice it was, and all of this, and then he tried the wrathful approach. That didn't work either. Then he kind of buttered them up with some compliments and saying, oh, you know, you've been so nice, and have some compassion, come and have some compassion. And that didn't work either. So he tried teaching them the Dharma. None of that worked because something was missing. It's basically, he's saying it's not enough to train in the Dharma. If we don't put it into practice, talking the talk is of little use. We have to walk the walk. We have to apply it. Otherwise, it's like, oh, you can pass an exam in Dharma or something, but if you don't know how to use it in whatever life situations occur, then it's a bit pointless, really, isn't it? So yes, realizing the abiding nature would be of little use. You band of ghosts and demons, obstructing spirits, how sublime it is that you've come at this time. Don't hurry. He's even saying, no, come make yourself comfy. Let's talk a bit. Let's chat. You're hurried? Oh, come on. You can stay just one night. He's kind of just totally, and he's not just saying it. He's got that. And we'll find a contest of body, speech, three gates, body, speech, and mind. And we'll see the difference between virtue and non-virtue. Come on, let's have a debate. I won't let you leave until you've made some obstacles. Come on, let's see what you got. If you should go back without making obstacles, you'd be ashamed to have been embarrassed to have come here and you've not even made any obstacles. Come on, And it just completely go into one, and then he goes woof, off on a gust of wind. So when you have that degree of practice, you can overcome anything. He said, so they vanished, and Milarepa thought, the king of obstructing spirits is called Vinayaka. He really gave it a go, Milarepa said. The gust of wind that blew away my wooden clothes before was also his magical doing. But because of the Guru's compassion, he couldn't get to me. And then his practice was enhanced beyond comprehension. So those are the songs that we're going to be studying. And I think what it might be good now I think there's enough words for now. I think maybe we can just sit for a little while and let it all sink in. So make yourselves comfortable and in a good posture. Straighten up your back and just get yourselves comfortable. And I mean, I've been talking for quite a while, reading and talking, and we've been going over all the different songs. So obviously there's a lot you're not going to be able to go through it like that. We've just done it in one fell swoop. But maybe there'll be some flavour of what we've been talking about in your mind to inspire your mind. And I think the main thing to just think about is towards the end there, when he spoke about having confidence in the view, what reminded him was when Marpa had pointed out, and he knew, Marpa pointed out that all phenomena, whatever happens in our lives, good, bad, indifferent, all phenomena are one's own mind, the radiation, the manifestation of one's own mind. And that mind itself is luminosity, emptiness. So that's our nature, that's our actual nature. But of course we let so much stuff get in the way. So let's just sit with the words of these amazing songs sinking in somehow into our consciousness. So straighten up and just relax. Body and mind relaxed. Just resting naturally. You don't need to try anything contrived or artificial. You're just resting in your natural state. Non-referential. Just letting the mind be in its natural state of spacious awareness. And whatever thoughts arise, you just see them as part of your mind. They're like waves of your mind, and you can just let them subside and rest your mind in its natural, spacious, luminous awareness. Enjoy. Jemila Shepa Dorjila Soandep So Jemila Shepa Dorjila Soandep So Jemila Shepa Dorjila Soande So Jemila Shepa Dorjila Soande So Jemila Shepa Dorjila Soandep 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 So. Okay. So, we've come to the conclusion of our course. I hope it's been useful for you. You know, the idea is for you to look into these songs for yourself, and there are 4 of them, if you include the Marpa one as well, of course. Not strictly speaking a song, but hey, we're not singing them anyway, so only Milarepa sang them. And I don't think you could translate that out of the Tibetan. It wouldn't work somehow into the English, even if you had the melody. But that's not the point. The point is to really look into them. So as there's 4, and I'd like to do this every month if you want to, you know, study, use it as a way of study and for your practice. I mean, you can still do other practices. It's not saying you can't do other practices, but this is sublime, isn't it? It's just sublime. It's nothing to do with me. This is Milarepa's the guru here, you know, and his guru, Marpa. So all I can do is pass on a bit of my enthusiasm, maybe, you know, because I love Milarepa, and I love him for a reason, good reason, you know. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a picture of Milarepa on the shrine there. And yeah, you know, I love him for who he was, for what he did, and for the way that he showed, despite all the stuff he went through at the beginning, despite all of that, and yet he became enlightened in one lifetime. And the way he did it, and these songs are just, You know, I mean, I would, if you want to, do get, this was very kindly given to me by a very good friend, and we have another version on the shrine there. So there's different versions you can get, and I would definitely recommend that you do get it. And also you can get Milarepa's life story as well. So you go into it as much as you want to go into it, but for the purposes of this course, we're studying the songs. I suggest you do one a week. You know, there's 4 of them, there's 4 weeks in a month. Why not just keep it simple? And just go into it, you know, use one week and really see the inner meaning of that. And not only that, but, you know, we're looking at them in the context. That's why I'm reading the excerpts in the books to sort of give it some context of how it happened and why it happened and in relation to what. But what we really need to do is put it into the context of our own life. Yes, we might not be in a mountain retreat somewhere and be exactly like Milarepa, but we're all human. We all have these same, we have to translate it into our own life, our own problems, our own things that we need to overcome with our inner problems, our outer problems. Everything, make use of it. That's the whole point of the teaching, is to use it. It's not some dry academic subject that you take an exam and you get a diploma or whatever, you know. It's not about that. It's for using in your real life situation. So I hope you will, you know, be able to practice in that way and to let Milarepa be your guru. How fortunate you couldn't have a better guru. And so, yeah, in approximately 4 weeks we'll have another session and we'll carry on like that. Okay, so for now let's dedicate the merit of our practice. Oh, by this merit may I obtain omniscience, defeat the enemy wrongdoing, and so free all beings from the ocean of samsara, with its stormy waves of birth, aging, sickness, and death. So we share the merit of our practice, not just for ourselves, but we share it with all beings for that purpose. Okay, so thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.